What's up YouTube? This is Dennis Panuta for tutorialsEU. Today I have something special for you, and that is an in-depth guide on how to use notifications in Android 11 using Jetpack. So the Jetpack suite and its frameworks that we're going to use. Okay, so step-by-step instruction on how to build a notification and different types of notifications, because we're going to see how to display text, but also how to display an image, and we're going to talk about the general idea of notifications and a really in-depth guide basically on how to use notifications. All right, so if you ever need that in your application, this is the guide that will help you with it. And by the way, this video is really just a part of my complete Jetpack course. You can check out the YouTube video, which is a 7-hour YouTube video that teaches you Jetpack fundamentals. And then of course the Jetpack masterclass, which is the full course. You can find the link in the description to get it with a discount. And if you don't want to miss out on my tutorials, then definitely hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss them. All right, let's get started. In this video, we are going to create this application. First of all, we're going to build the one with a inbox style notification where you can just click on this button and this will then trigger, as you can see here at the top, a little notification. If I open it up, you can see that this is basically the details that I'm getting here. So a lot of details within a notification, simple, and I can click on it and this will send me back to the application. I can of course also get rid of this notification. And then the other one is a big image style notification. Once I click on that, you see I get this notification here with a big picture. Bob's post, and the notification is like my shot of Earth. Well, not very good English, but that will do the trick. So basically it's this little notification here which will then send the user to the application, of course. And instead of sending him to the notification screen here, you would of course want to send him to that picture that you just showed him in the notification. Okay, but for us it's really the focus going to be on the notification aspect here, and I'd say let's get started. Therefore, I'm going to create a new project, and we can just use the empty activity here, the default one. I'm going to call this one notifications demo, and I'm going to use Kotlin as well as the default SDK of 21. And let's create this application for us. By the way, you can download this step-by-step instruction on how to build it. We prepared it, of course, as with all of our demos. Okay, so the first thing that we'll need to take care of is going to be the layout, of course, because we want to have this button in there so that we can click on it and basically trigger something. And therefore, I'm going to use a very simple linear layout. I'm not going to go into constraint layouts or any of that stuff. So let me replace this code and quickly go over it. So I'm using a linear layout with a vertical orientation with a little bit of padding and a text view at the top, which says click on the button to launch your notification style. Another text view saying demos email type app using inbox style. And then the button here which says launch inbox style notification. Okay, what's important is that I have access to this button inbox style button so that I can access it. And if you want to change the text view at any point, you would also need to give it an ID. Okay, at this point we can go over to our main activity and make sure that our class here is going to implement the on-click listener. So I'm going to add that here. You could of course also just use the onClick listener directly in the onCreate method, but I'm going to make sure that my main activity is going to be implementing onClick listener so that this onClick method is made available to me. Okay, then the next thing that we need to do is to create an instance of our button so that we can access it, and also make sure that we have an onClick listener for that button. Okay, I'm going to call this one button inbox style notification. I'm going to use the find view by ID approach here instead of using view binding, but it is really just for demonstration purpose. I would recommend to use view binding in your real life projects whenever you build one. Okay, if you want to know more about view binding, check out my video on view binding. And then of course we need to make sure that this button is going to have an on-click listener, which will be this, which means our main activity will be the on-click listener, which is why we implemented this part. And then of course the on-click event will be triggered accordingly. So you're learning something about Android app development in this video, and maybe you want to learn a lot more about it. Then you can check out one of my 2 courses. So if you are a beginner Android developer, then I would highly recommend to check out my Android Masterclass course. There you will learn to build Android apps from scratch and you become a real Android developer. Or maybe you want to become a better Android developer because you are one already and you want to become a real pro. Then I would recommend to check out the Jetpack Masterclass, because there you will learn how to use Jetpack, which is a suite of frameworks that will make sure that you are a senior app developer. All right, so I would really recommend to check out those courses if you want to step up your app development skills very quickly. You can find a link in the description below, which will send you to the course with a huge discount. All right, so thanks a lot for checking out those courses. This really helps us out and this enables us to create these videos. Either way, I wish you a nice journey to becoming a great app developer. And now let's get back to the video. Now we need to create a function which will take care of generating such an inbox style notification. And I'm going to call this one generate inbox style notification. Okay, this is going to be the function that will take care of every single step there. And this method will then be called once I click on the button. Okay, but before we take care of that, let's make sure that we have some data that we want to display. And I'm just going to put it in the same folder. Usually you would create an extra directory for this, an extra package to make sure that everything is cleanly separated. But this is really just going to focus on how to create notifications. So let's really just do that. And I'm going to create an object here, which will be the inbox style mock data. Okay, so this will just be mock data where we create a bunch of useless information, useless text information that will make sure that there is something to be displayed. Okay, so I'm going to define a content title, a content text, the number of emails that I have received, the priority that this notification gets, because every notification needs to have a priority. And these are, by the way, standard notification values that you would have. And then I will define the style notification values, such as the content title. Then I'm going to create a big content title with 5 new emails from Jane, Jay, Alex, and 2 more, and new mails. By the way, this here is going to be used for API below 16. So Android 4.0 and below. And then I'll have a function in here, which will include the individual email summary, which will return an array list of strings. And let's look at this real quick, what it will do. So I have this method or this function, m individual email summary. If it's called, it will return an array list. And this array list will just have this list of messages that these users created. We are basically faking data as if it came from our users. Okay, as if we had a chat application, but we're not going to build a huge chat application for this demonstration. So we're just going to use mock data, and that's what we have here. So a list of a little bit of data. So Jane sent a message, Jay sent a message, and so forth. And this is the message basically, or are the messages that we get from them, and we return this list. And then I'm going to use another method here. This will now send me the list of people that basically sent me a message. And what is going to happen is, even if the phone is on do not disturb mode and the person is a favorited person in my context, so let's say I had Jay Walker as a favorite because let's say it's my brother or whatever, and if he sends me a message, then I definitely want to make sure that I receive the message. So I'm going to receive that message even if I'm in do not disturb mode. So the phone will still ring, I'll still get the notification saying that I got a message from Jay. And that is something that you can of course retrieve, in this case by using fake data, but usually you would receive this information from somewhere else, let's say from your database that you have, but the user database that you're using, or from the contacts of the phone or something like that. Okay, but that would go too far for this particular example. And then we need the channel ID whenever we want to create a notification. We need to get the channel ID, and I'm going to give this an ID of channel email 1. This is for devices targeting API level 26 and above. This should be, I believe, Android 8 or maybe 7, not 100% sure. Then we need to give this user visible name of the channel a name. I'm going to give this the name of sample email, and then I'm going to add a user visible description of the channel. So the channel description will be sample email notifications. The channel importance will be set to importance default. So we're using the notifications manager to get the importance of default. And if you look at it, you will see that this is the importance of 3, which is the default importance. There is also the low importance and the minimum importance. So basically it's just integers, but we're using constants here, static final values, which are basically constants that we can then use in our application. So 5 would be the maximum value. So if we set that to 5, then this notification would be displayed in more situations depending on the settings of the user, but the default will be fine for most applications. Then we can enable the vibration. So mChannel enable vibrate, I'm going to set that to true. And mChannel lock screen visibility, I'm going to set that to visibility private. So the notification compat has a couple of options here as well. There is the private option, there's the secret option, there's the public option. You can see that there are a couple of different options for the notification. Category call, category notification, category message, category email. So you can see different kind of categories available here, and you can select the one that fits to your application. Okay, so if it is a progress notification, then you would use the notification category progress. So let's say it's a progress of downloading data, and the notification would use the according template, so to speak. And then we have an error, transport. So a bunch of different options that you have here. I would recommend to check them out once you know what you need your application's notification for. Okay, and now we can go ahead and use all of this information in our application. Therefore, I'm going to create a new util file. So this will be a new Kotlin class. I'm going to call this one notification util. This will be a utility class which just holds some functions that we want to use throughout the application, for example. This is generally good practice if you have this kind of situation where you have functions that should be used throughout the application that don't need to have a specific object assigned to them. So what I want to have in here is basically going to be a function that will return a notification channel, and that notification channel will be of type string. So in order to create this string, I first of all need to check the version. So am I using Android O or later, or am I using a version that is basically an older Android version? Okay, so in the case that it is a newer version, I'm going to first of all get the channel ID, and I'm going to get that from the inbox style mock data. And this is of course depending on where you get your information from. In my case, I'm just going to use the style mock data that we created earlier. Then we need to get the channel name. I'm also going to get the channel name from our inbox style mock data, as well as all of the following data. Okay, so channel description, channel importance, channel enable vibrate, channel lock screen visibility. All of that is going to come from our inbox style mock data, which is basically this file where we prepared everything. Okay, so we prepared this to fake the data. The data would usually come from our application's triggered processes, whatever, right? But for this particular case, we want to focus on triggering the notification event. And this create inbox style notification requires just the context to execute. But of course, if you wanted to pass all of this information to the function, once you call it, you could do that as well. So you could, of course, add those properties here as different arguments or parameters here in your function description or definition. And then we need to get the notification channel. Okay, so in order to set up the notification channel, we're going to use this notification channel class, which is going to create a notification channel for us. And then we need to pass a couple of properties to it. So if you look at it, we need to pass the ID, the char sequence, as well as the importance, which is just an integer, right? So we're going to pass the channel ID, which we have set up here, which is going to be the channel email 1 that we had set up. Then we're going to pass the channel name, which is going to be sample email. And then we need to pass the channel importance, which is this channel importance where we set it to default 3, which we looked at earlier. And then we can now go ahead and use that channel notification to add a couple of properties to it. So for example, I can set up a description for this notification channel. So you can see here, there is something called a description for the notification channel, sets the user visible description of this channel. Then enable vibration, and we're going to set it up with enable channel vibrate, which is just a boolean, and we get that from our mock data, which is set to true. And the channel lock screen visibility, which is this property here, and you can just set it up to be basically whatever value that you assign to it. As you can see, it's an integer. Sets whether notification posted to the channel appear on the lock screen or not. Okay, so that's our notification channel. And now at this point, we can set up our notification manager. And this adds a notification channel to the system, attempting to create an existing notification channel with its original values, and performs no operation, so it's safe to perform the below sequence. So this will attempt to create a notification channel for us. So here you see create notification channel with the notification channel that we prepared. So basically everything that we did before was really just for this one line here, or actually it's 2 lines. So we set up the notification manager, which we get from the system services, and we need to pass the context, and we're using the notification service context. So here, this is the notification service inside of context. So there are different kind of services here: alarm service, URI ground service, activity task service, and so forth. We're going to use the notification service from the context, because that's what this get system service needs. It needs a non-null service name, which is basically just going to be a name, which is going to be our notification service, as a notification manager. So we need to cast it so that it's going to be a notification manager. And at that point, we can create a notification channel based on all of the settings that we had set up here with this notification channel. So a lot of setup really just to create this line to have all the data ready for it. Okay, and then we can return the channel ID. And the channel ID is this one here with our mock data. And in the else block, because we also have an else block here, as you've seen, this is inside of the if statement, which checks if we have Android O or later. And by the way, if you don't know what O stands for, you can hover over it with a control key pressed, and you will see O stands for 26. So that's the API level. As you can see, my Pixel 3a is set to API level 30, which is, I believe, Android 11. Okay, and here you can then return, and I'm just going to return an empty string here, because as you see, this method will return a string. So I'm just going to say if it's an older version than Android O, it's not going to do anything. So it's going to return an empty string here. Okay, and now we can go back to our main activity, because we created this function here, generate inbox style notification, which really should create the notification for us. And it will basically use the notification util that we just prepared in order to call this create notification channel method. Okay, so here we can just go ahead and create a notification channel using this new string here. This will be the notification channel ID, because if you look at it, this method is going to return an ID, a channel ID. So now we can go ahead and use our create notification channel with the context of this, which will take the main activities context. And then we can go ahead and prepare our inbox style. So here we're going to build the inbox style using the notification compat inbox style method. And we're going to set the big content title to be the big content title that we prepared here. So this one here saying 5 new emails from Jane, Jay, Alex, and 2 more. Then we also set the summary text, which is going to be new emails. And now we're going to create a summary based on the list of individual emails that we received. So we received multiple emails, right? And now we're going to basically add a line to our inbox style based on that summary. So this for loop will go through the list that we have here, which is an array list. It will go through this list and it will add every single line, which means every single string here as an extra line to the inbox style, which is this notification compat inbox style. Okay, so this inbox style is a helper class for generating large format notifications that include a list of up to 5 strings. That's exactly what we're passing to it. Okay, we have 5 strings that we are adding to this inbox style. And now we can create an intent based on our current package context, which is our main activity. And then we're passing that the user will be sent to the main activity. Basically, when the user clicks on the icon or on the notification, he will be sent to our main activity. So this is where you can set up where the notification will launch to. So if you have multiple different activities in your application, you can then directly send the user to the activity that you want to send the user to once he clicks on it. So let's say you don't want to send him to the start screen, but you want to send him directly to the message with the details about the user that he clicked on, for example. And then we're going to make this a pending intent, okay? Because this is not going to be something that is going to trigger straight away, but we're going to use a pending intent here, which needs to get the activity. We're using the context. Then we need to pass a request code and the intent that we want to execute. And then we can pass the pending intent flag. So here I'm going to use the flag update current, which indicates that if the described pending intent already exists, then keep it, but replace its extra data with what is in this new intent. And as you can see, there are different kind of flags. Flag cancel current and run the one before. Flag don't create anything. Flag one shot. So there are different kind of flags that you can use, but we're going to use this one, which updates the current intent. So if there was another intent sending to this activity, we're going to update it with the latest data, so to speak. And then we build and issue the notification, because we want this to be a new notification and not updating a previous notification. We create a new builder. However, we don't need to update this notification later, so we will not need to set a global builder for access to the notification later. So here, let's create a notification compat builder using the notification compat.builder. And here we need to pass the context, which will be the application context, and the notification channel ID. And now we can set all of the properties to that notification builder. Okay, for example, we can set the style. And the style will be our inbox style that we prepared, inbox style, which is, by the way, this property here, which we set to the content title, having a summary text, having all of these inbox lines that we prepared, all of that stuff. Then we have the main intent, which will be basically where the user will be sent to once he runs the application. And now we can set all of the other properties that we want to set. So for example, the content title. You can see here some content info, content intent, content text, content title. These are all properties that you can set now with the setter methods. Okay, so for example, the set content title is going to be something that I'm going to set here. And then I'm going to set the content text. I'm going to set the small icon to be the stat notification icon. Let me create this icon real quick because we don't have it in our application yet. So we need to create this new drawable. Let's go over here to a drawable, and I'm going to copy those two over here from my other project. You can download them from the project if you don't want to create them manually. So here IC person as well as IC notification. Okay, so this will be the notification image that I'm going to use, and this is going to be the person icon that I'm going to use. So just in case you were wondering, these two will be part of our application. You can choose other icons if you want to. Just make sure that they're not too big because they're small icons, right? And then I'm also going to set the large icon, which will be this person image. I'm going to set the content intent, which is going to be our main pending intent, which we prepared earlier, this one here. I'm going to set the defaults to be the notification defaults. For example, set the primary color. This is especially important for Where 2.0 notifications. And then I can also set the color of my application's notification, and I'm going to use the context compat get color using application context and using a purple color, which is defined in my resources file colors XML. And at this point, it's complaining that I should rather set the access syntax. It's going to be fine either way. You can override it if you want, but I'm just going to use this as I have set it up here. Then I'm going to use the subtext, which will be the number of emails that we defined, 5 emails. I'm going to set the category, which will be our email category. So notification category email. So basically we're saying that the notification that we're creating is going to be a notification like an email. And then I have to set the priority. And as I stated earlier, there are different types of priorities here. I'm going to use the priority default of this notification. And let me get rid of all of these and go back to my main activity here. And I'm going to set the visibility here. So finally, the visibility will be M channel lock screen visibility, which is what we set up here, visibility private. Okay, so this is going to be the lock screen visibility. And then, as I stated earlier, inside of our mock data, we have all of these people, right, with their names. How does our application now find out, or our Android operating system find out whether this person exists inside of their context, for example? Well, we need to pass it to it. Okay, so here I'm going to pass it in an extra line, basically saying go through all of the participants. So this list here, go through this list and add them to the notification compat builder. So this notification compat builder is this one that we had set up, which is our notification compat builder. Okay, so I'm going to add that to it as well, add every single person in that list. This is a for loop that goes through every single item in the list, which is this array list that we used here of strings. So it's going to now add every single person to that compat builder as a person. So this add person method is going to add a person that is relevant to this notification. Depending on user preferences, this annotation may allow the notification to pass through interruption filters and to appear more prominently in the user interface. Okay, so as I said earlier, if this is going to be an important person, so to speak, then the notification will rather go through, even if the user has do not disturb activated. And then finally, we can build this notification at this point. So let's create a notification using our notification compat builder and build it. So all of this was just set up as you see here, to make sure that the notification compat builder has all of the relevant information that it needs. And now we can actually create the notification using the compat builder and build it. Okay, now at this point in the main activity at the very top, I need to create a couple of variables. And the first one will be the notification ID, and I'm going to set that to 888, and then the notification manager compat. So this notification manager is going to take care of notifications and we need to assign this notification manager at one point. We need to initialize it. And what better point to initialize something than the onCreate method? So let's initialize it in the onCreate method using this notification manager compat and getting it from the context. Okay, so here, this will get the notification manager compat instance for a provided context, which is our main activity context. Okay, and at this point, we can go down here where we set up this notification and actually use our notification manager compat to notify using the ID, which will be our notification ID that we had set up earlier, and the actual notification, which is this notification here. And now, of course, we may not forget, or we must not forget, because otherwise nothing will happen, to implement the onClick event here. And I'm just going to say when the user clicks on the button inbox style, which is this button here in our UI, launch inbox style notification, then all of this code will be triggered. Now, of course, as we're using an optional view, actually, let me make this unoptional. So I'm going to make this a non-nullable view. This is one way of fixing this problem. Otherwise, you could use let here, but this will be fine for now. Okay, let's run this application because this was a huge setup. As you see, notification is quite a complex thing in Android Studio, and we need to really work hard to get this notification running. So now let's click on this button and you will see the notification pops up here. It says 5 new emails from Jane, J, Alex +2 with Jane Fab, launcher party. So let me actually close my application to just show you that this notification will in fact send me over to the application. So let me click on that and you see it opens up the application. So a lot of setup, but in the end it created this notification for us and now it will be made available to us. So now you know how to use notifications, and the next one will be to create this big picture notification, which will be significantly easier because we basically did all of the setup already. So we will just need to add a couple of lines, and that's what we're going to do next. And by the way, this notification ID that we used here, this is really something that we created ourselves. So you could just use another number if you wanted to. Okay, so I'd say that's it for this video. See you in the next one. So you're learning something about Android app development in this video, and maybe you want to learn a lot more about it. Then you can check out one of my 2 courses. So if you are a beginner Android developer, then I would highly recommend to check out my Android Masterclass course. There you will learn to build Android apps from scratch and you'll become a real Android developer. Or maybe you want to become a better Android developer because you are one already and you want to become a real pro. Then I would recommend to check out the Jetpack Masterclass, because there you will learn how to use Jetpack, which is a suite of frameworks that will make sure that you are a senior app developer. All right, so I would really recommend to check out those courses if you want to step up your app development skills very quickly. You can find a link in the description below, which will send you to the course with a huge discount. All right, so thanks a lot for checking out those courses. This really helps us out and this enables us to create these videos. Either way, I wish you a nice journey to becoming a great app developer. And now let's get back to the video. Okay, so now let's take care of the second button here, which will create a big image style notification. So once you click on that, you can see a notification pops up here and it contains this big image here that we can click on and get to the application. In order to set that up, of course, we're going to require a couple of new elements inside of our layout. So I'm just going to add those two here, which will be this new text view, as well as this button, which I'm going to give the idea of button big image style. And it will state something like launch big image style notification. Okay, now of course we need to make sure that this button is clickable. So let's go ahead to our main activity and set that button up. Therefore, I'm just going to add those lines in here, which will be big image style notification, find view by ID, using that button that we just set up, right? This one here. And then make sure that it has an on-click listener. That's something that I usually forget, and then I'm wondering why a button doesn't work. So make sure that you have that straight away. And then of course in here we will need to cover the other button that we want to be able to click on, and make sure that you don't override everything. Okay, so here we will need to add the button click event. All right, so what is it that we want to do here? And by the way, we should also return at this point. What do we want to do here once we click on this? Well, we want to generate this big picture style notification. And therefore, I'm going to set up an extra mock data file. Okay, a new object here, which I'm going to call big picture style mock data. And it's also going to contain a title, as well as a content text, as well as a priority, as we had with our other mock data. So here they are basically the same thing as you see here. It has a content title and the content text and the priority. And as you see, we don't have a number of emails here because we won't need it. But what we will need is the image that we want to use, as well as the big content title and the summary text that we want to display there. Okay, so I'm going to use this drawable called Earth, and therefore, of course, you need to have this drawable Earth PNG in your drawables folder. So just make sure that you have an image called Earth PNG if you want to use the exact same drawable. Otherwise, of course, feel free to use any kind of image that you have available. And then I'm also going to have a list of participants, but in this case, it's really just going to be Bob. Okay, so similar to what we had before, but this time the list will only consist of one item. And then we need to have a channel ID. I'm going to call this one social 1, a channel name. I'm going to call this sample social, as well as a channel description, a channel importance, a channel enable vibrate, as well as a lock screen visibility. And I'm going to set the importance to high this time. And this is why you see this extra notification here. So you see this pop up here that pops up. And then we set the visibility to private. As we said earlier, this will make the visibility private. There are different settings that you can set up here, as we stated earlier. Okay, so that's our mockup file that we have here. Now let's go to our notifications util file and create a similar method to what we created earlier. It's basically going to be the same thing, only with a couple of changes. So now we're going to change the name, only that we're not going to change the data from our big pictures mock data. Okay, so basically it's going to be the same code. Now you could of course argue, why don't we create just a couple of properties in the function? But basically this is going to be the method that I want to call. And as I stated earlier, you can of course create all of these different parameters in here so that you can then just pass the parameter and change whatever is displayed. So we're going to use the channel ID that we prepared there, the channel name that we created here, as well as the description, importance, vibrate, and so forth. All of that inside of this notification util method that we just need to call in order to create this notification channel. So that is basically the same thing as we had here, only that we're now replacing inbox style mock data with big picture style mock data for the relevant information. And at this point, we can go back to the main activity and make sure that we have a function which will create a big picture style notification. So basically it's going to be very similar to what we have in our generate inbox style notification. So first of all, we need to have a notification channel ID as we had here, only that this time we're going to call this create big picture style notification method. We need to pass the context to it. Then we are going to set up the big picture style, and this one will be a little different. So here we're going to use the notification compat, but this time the big picture style, using a big picture which will take the resources, and there it will take the big image, which is in our case the Earth image here. Okay, so that's how you define the image that you want to display. Then you can define the content title as well as the summary text here. And then if you want to have an intent that the user can use when he clicks on this, well, it makes sense to add the intent here, then set up the pending intent as we had earlier. So basically the same thing that we did in the earlier part of the video. And then we can use the notification builder with the application context and the channel ID, and use that builder now to create that image. And that will be quite a big part. Let me go over it real quick. So here we are using this notification compat builder in order to set the style, being this big picture style, which is this one that we created using the big picture, using the content title, using the summary text. Then we set the content title as well as the content text. We use the small icon, which is this Android icon. Then we use the IC person. This is this image here, or you can see it here on the left hand side as well. We set the content intent to be the main pending intent, which we set up here. And then we set the primary color of our notification. Then we need to set the subtext, and I'm going to set this subtext, which is this one, set third line of text in the platform notification template. Don't use if you are also using the set progress. Okay, so we're not going to set the progress, but we're going to set the subtext of 1 as well as the category to be a social category. So this is this one here, notification, social network or sharing update. So our notification will be from a social media application, so to speak. We're faking as if our application is a social media application. And then of course we need to set the visibility here. So we're going to set it using our channel lock screen visibility, which is going to be the visibility private. And then of course we need to add the names. So here for name in big picture style mock data, we're going to add the people's name to our compat builder, and based on that we're going to now create our notification as we had done earlier. And at this point we can then go ahead and run the notification. So now we're notifying with the notification ID that we had set up, and we're passing the notification at this point. Now of course we need to call this method in order to execute any of that, and we're going to do that once we click on the button that says big image style. Okay, so here let's call this generate big picture style notification image, and now if we run that and test it, we should be able to create this little icon of the Earth there. So let's get rid of all of the notifications that we have there. Let's click on this. You see this is the image that pops up. And even if I click on that, you can see I'm directly sent over to the application, and also the notification is here. So Bob's post, like my shot of Earth, and you see there is a picture. It says that there is a picture available, and then this is basically the notification with the big picture. Okay, so you can see you are very flexible when it comes to notifications. There are a bunch of options that you have, and you can really play around with it as you like. Okay, so I believe this video is long enough. we have covered the different aspects of notifications. Of course, there's a lot more to know about it. I would really recommend to check out the notification for all of the other details that there are about notifications. But now this will be a good start for you to play around with and basically use in your application. Thanks a lot for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please leave a like and also consider subscribing. And of course, check out one of those other videos because I hope that they will be relevant for you as well and they will help you to become an even better Android developer. All right, I wish you a nice day and see you in the next video.